Insurtech Gateway have been hacking the collaborative model between founder and insurer. The London-based incubator and fund created a fast-track authorised launch capability for insurtechs. Now they are joining us on stage with one of their corporate investors and two of their portfolio founders to share their frontline experiences and insights. Please give them a big hand.
Is the fastest place to build and launch an insurtech startup.
The only FCA authorised independent incubator, now with studios in London and Australia.
It's really, really, really fast.
We're a one-stop shop where you can get underwriting paper, investment capital, and advice on how to design and build your startup, all surrounded by great insurance partners.
Insurers often struggle to innovate within their own businesses. We enable insurers to do that in a safe environment.
The insurance market is a massive market and needs disruption.
There are so many barriers to entry, founders run out of cash and energy just trying to get in.
The Gateway are also attracting exciting talent from outside of the industry.
We love big ideas and transformative business models.
We have 10 amazing founding teams.
I call them our insurance Sherpas, guiding us through the wilderness of insurance.
Some of our founders are truly inspirational.
We found some great insurers who are willing to enable and support us.
Several of the Gateway companies are the first of their kind in the entire world.
Some of these technologies and exceptional founders are truly going to disrupt the market.
We're hoping it's going to help us get to market in record time.
We enable insurers, technology partners, and insurtechs to get to know each other, not over 5 minutes or 5 weeks, but over duration of building a business.
We needed to get the best talent in town in order for the Gateway to succeed.
It's our optimism and ambition for the insurtech space.
Gateway have an outstanding collaborative model.
If an idea isn't bonkers or brilliant, we're not trying hard enough.
They really walk the talk about bringing innovation to the insurance industry.
We're opening Gateway Australia to complement the Gateway in London, and we're looking for partners to open new gateways, since our portfolio and our founders come from everywhere.
Helping companies scale up and expand internationally.
We're going to become the destination for the world's best talent to disrupt insurtech.
Well, you would almost think like, well, we can go because it's all been said. But life is always better. Life's always better. And as you saw, we were already having fun there in the corner, which shows our age. You know, when we hear Diana Ross, we start moving. You know, and it's sort of so. You're going to get the whole team. You're going to get Connie and the Pip. So I've only brought one Pip on stage so far, and I really like this because it's like bonkers or brilliant. If I look back at your career, Steve and I, since 1995, it's always around creativity, design, innovation, but also very much scaling. So where does the bonkers brilliant analogy come in?
I think basically we want to be clearly an independent in this new game called Insurtech. Bonkers or brilliant is our flag, which is why we've left a few flags for you. Bonkers and brilliant says, don't behave like a corporate when you see a great startup. It says, just accept the fact that for a moment, maybe you don't understand it and they don't understand you. So bonkers or brilliant, I guess, fits because when I first approached the insurance space, and I'm not an insurance person, 3 years ago, I was met with sad faces of great creative people that couldn't make anything happen. And myself and my partners, who are all in the second row over there, have worked tirelessly to change the language, to create new forums where we can talk about ideas first and their potential. And where we can have meetings called things like Bonkers or Brilliant, where we all sit together and try and solve to make amazing things happen.
Cool. And when we started speaking, I have to say, I immediately felt that there was great alignment with Dia as well, because I'm an associate at Dia, and we talked about this, like, why is everything happening for the payment space and for the banking space and nothing for insurance? That's why we set this up, and it's about being insatiably curious and never stop being curious. So tell us where you're different, because the world is inundated with incubator, startup, boot camps, and so on and so on. Where is your organization different? How do you work?
Well, I think primarily we didn't start at scale. We started by helping one or two startups to get going and working out what they needed. So we've designed it from the bottom up. So we follow the startup journey, and we say, what do you need on day one? Is that, I'm running out of time?
No, I'm missing my time clock here.
And
I think I'll put it back on.
And then we built the platform, having followed that journey. So right now we are the only incubator with authorization and a fund. And as I keep moving my hand, it's because we're building more and more bits to help startup founders succeed on their path.
Yeah.
We're path clearing.
Also, though, what I find interesting is that you don't just look at the what and the how, but you really start at the very core, with the vision. You're like, what is your purpose? What do you want to achieve? I mean, I looked at some of your startups and how you make them present themselves. I love the Flash guys who sort of was sitting in the water, because that is an issue they address. How do you get to the bottom of the purpose with people? What unusual methods do you use?
Well, I have to say it's good selection at the heart of it, because they come to us. And I mean, that example of the flood flash, one of the partners, their parents were living in a flood zone.
Yeah.
And they sat and, with creased faces and passion, told of frustration that their family couldn't get coverage, and that they had a brilliant solution, or maybe Bonkers solution, to solve it. So I think it's really in the way that we put our flag up and we attract a certain type.
Yeah.
And I think that's fundamentally the story. But from that point on, we get them out with their customer. We get them in the water. We get them to talk to people. And we really, really encourage customer-first product development and innovation.
Yeah. So before we go to some of the people who participate in your gateway, I want to hear it from you. Like, what has been your lesson over the first 3 years since existence? And be careful, because I'm going to check with them later whether you're speaking the truth, whether they experience it that way.
I think the biggest lessons was to take our time and be excellent at what we do. And I think we did that, I think, by nature of continually bringing together small numbers of people. That meant we just very slowly worked out how to do this, how to de-risk startups. And so I think, I think the first year we were learning how to break into the market, which was how to get the FCA on side, to get our authorization.
Not unimportant.
That was a tough journey, and we understood the pain on the startups' faces when they came to see us, because we'd done it too. And I think the second year was really about working out how to get them into market quickly beyond once you take the authorization out the way and the paper out the way, then you're really looking at market fit.
Yeah.
And you're really you're finding founders, and you're gently guiding them to get that click with the customer.
Yeah.
And I think that, the 3-year lesson was get all the barriers out the way so that brilliant people can get to their customer.
Wow, what an aspiration. So, let us invite some of your partners on stage. And we have a wonderful Bonkers and Brilliant lineup, because I'm starting with Carl Stanley. You're the VP Technology Ventures with Renaissance Re, and I love this because he used to be a programmer and he's now a VC. And then we go to another extreme, Digital Asset Services, David Janchevsky. You're Bonkers because you left the Royal Mint, which is nice and stable. You're now in blockchain and crypto and all that stuff. And then we have another very brilliant person, or Bonkers, no matter you look at it, Peter Bousquet. You're with Human, and you're an investment banker who then went fishing, and you became an Insurtech. So let's start with you. If each of you could just in one sentence say, what your context is for the next panel and how you participate.
So Human AI is a data platform that provides real-time risk pricing and transparency to insurers in the commercial fleet space. And the Insurtech Gateway are the way that we've gone to market in 6 months rather than 2 years.
Perfect.
So digital asset services provides insurance against theft and loss for cryptocurrencies. I guess we wouldn't be here today if it weren't for the patience and commitment of the Insurtech Gateway.
Perfect, thank you.
Carl. I'm Carl Stanley. I work for Renaissance Re. We're a global reinsurer. I think we're the 9th biggest reinsurer in the world, and we are a backer and investor in the Insurtech Gateway.
Perfect. So let me go to you guys, Insurtechs, first. Why did you opt to become an independent? Because surely if you work in a very large insurance firm, and they also give you an opportunity to develop something, why did you go the hard way? What is it like to be an independent compared to an insurer, a large player?
When we looked at the proposition, we started with this idea of how do we gather and build a data asset. And going into an insurer, you at best could become a high-priced consultant. And so only while starting outside can you actually build the data asset and build the long-term value both for yourself and the shareholders that come and invest.
Yeah. And you found that more attractive?
I found it more attractive, but also it's not possible to really build that kind of data value for a founder group while staying within the walls of an insurer.
Okay.
I think, well, I came out of the Royal Mint, and over a 5-year period, we kind of convinced the Mint to get into blockchain and issue a UK-based gold-backed digital currency, which was quite a journey in and of itself. But it took 5 years, if not longer. And so for me, it was all about how can you do this in a much faster, more efficient way. And working with insurers, in the early days before I met the Gateway, I would go into a room and I'd sit down with an insurer. I'd tell them what we were planning, and they'd start laughing, and then they'd stop laughing, and they'd say, yes, but really what are you trying to do? And I'd tell them again, and they'd start laughing again. And it wasn't actually the bad idea, it turns out. It was how it was presented, and that was very important to how you convert what you want to say into something that is understandable and digestible by the audience that you're targeting.
Yeah. Carl, why would you also really want to look at sort of outside independents who have by their very nature are more troublesome to deal with than sort of the internally grown ventures?
Yeah, absolutely. They're definitely troublesome to deal with, and that's what Stephen and his friends do. They kind of deal with some of that. So it's interesting that Peter mentioned it, like working inside an insurer, it can be quite difficult to innovate and grow value internally because, well, like I said, I work for, I think, the 9th biggest reinsurer in the world. We all have multiple day jobs. We have a very large machine that we've got to keep on the rails all the time. So it doesn't really give us the time or the space and the willingness to fail that you need in order to innovate. And so by partnering with the Insurtech Gateway, it sort of allows us to kind of vicariously do that because you do the trying and the failing and the bonkers and the brilliant and bring us in, and we can speak to you and we can hopefully teach you some things and learn some things from you. So that's kind of the nature of it.
So you get them out of the nappy stages, basically. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not so sure.
You're not so sure. No, and I can speak from experience because I really wonder with you guys as well. It does take a tiny level of courage because being a startup means that the first part of the journey you have to fund yourself or your family. That's even worse because they're going to shoot you down if you fail. How did you deal with that discomfort, or were you totally courageous, like, oh, what the heck?
I think it's still uncomfortable. We've just closed our seed round, and I think that's the first time that we're sort of breathing and saying, okay, great, we're revenue generating. So that's another step. But the initial year, I mean, Mark and I have been on this journey for almost 3 years, kind of winnowing it down to something that was you could recognize a value and feel that you could strike out on that path. And I think that one of the reasons that we did partner with the Insurtech Gateway was that we realized also that we were taking the Lonely Planet Guide to Insurance, and if we were still on that guidebook, we would never get to where we needed to be. And they've acted as the ones who've really smartened us up when it comes to this very Byzantine world, and has allowed us to take larger steps towards actually seeing a product live in the market that would have taken who knows how long. And so it starts to relax everyone, and you start to actually build product for clients.
Exactly, it is tough. So here's one for you. On this special collaborative model, obviously the founders are very important for you because they are normally the people who bring the business to you. How do you deal with any possible exclusivity behavior, or maybe your customers, the big incumbent insurers? I don't know what it's like with the insurers, but I know in the banking industry they often thought, oh well, I'll invest with you, but it has to be exclusive. And I say, did we talk open banking? Oh yeah, no, you're right. So how do you deal with that phenomenon?
I think we were quite surprised how easy the conversations were. But as ever, you're always lucky if you meet enough people. But certainly with the Renaissance and the other LPs who have invested and supported us, we made it pretty clear that the ownership of the business would be with the startup founder, with the business owner. And to our surprise, they were very happy about that, which was, we don't need to own this. Firstly, this is a huge learning exercise.
Yeah.
I mean, this is their words and not ours. A huge learning exercise. And we also get some potential to have some underwriting access. And we're quite used to actually being parts of panels and binders where we could actually double up, triple up with other insurers. So actually we thought we were going to have a tough time and we pushed on an open door. And that possibly says more to the way you work or some of the people you work with.
I think it's interesting because I think over time, one of the things that makes companies like RenRe successful is that we have a pretty good handle on what we are good at and what we are not good at. And we attempt to concentrate all of our efforts on the things that differentiate us and the things that we're really good at. So we're really good at underwriting. We're really good at risk selection. We put a lot of effort into making sure we have access to risk so we can build a long-term franchise value for our shareholders, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We feel the engagement with Insurtech Gateway, it's an interesting one because maybe you came in the door thinking, okay, this is about investment and how can we show we're going to get a certain return, to jump the hurdle on this particular investment. Whereas we're thinking about it almost in terms of an access to risk play, because we get to learn about new and emerging forms of risk and new ways of interacting, with the public and selling them insurance and things like that, so that we can get ahead of these things and see where the trends are, and then maybe when they start to scale in a huge way, where it starts to move the dial for us, we're ready to move.
Yeah. Here's a question. How many people in the audience actually represent insurtechs, like independent entrepreneurs, sort of, giving it all a go? You see, we have quite a few brave people here among us. So here's a question to you two. Almost every insurtech, fintech, has a level of pivot at some point. Because you start out with this great idea, and then you touch the market, you start talking to prospective customers with the help of guys like this, and you figure that you've got to, maybe not the whole technology stack, but you might have changed the story a bit. What is your advice to insurtechs who want to start off with respect to staying to your core innovation and at the same time listening to the market?
Well, we're there to innovate and I think collaborate with capital, but at the same time, the whole idea of Insurtech is that you're trying to find a new path to the customer and provide value to that customer. And I think what we found is that working with partners who are provide that direct feedback allows you to hone an idea before you go and trial it in front of what can only be described as a difficult room. Yeah. And so doing that prep work and trying it in those kind of environments has been instrumental in making the most of those small bites that you get when you go and present to capital, when you go and present to underwriters, and that's been instrumental in our early success.
Yeah, David.
Yeah, I think if I think back to our journey, which started just over a year ago, the core proposition in terms of its insurance for cryptocurrency hasn't materially changed. How we have developed the proposition and worked on it has changed like about a dozen times and constantly changes every single month depending on what somebody else gives us feedback. So I think if you're a founder, you have to kind of believe, you kind of get backed because of your original concept, but you have to strike the balance between that and being flexible enough to listen to either what your customers or your supporters or your partners are saying about what you're doing. And it's a really hard balance because, as I found over my time, the pendulum swings. So sometimes you listen to people a bit too much, if you're not careful, you can drift away from a core concept as well. So it's not an easy journey, but it's a journey that loads of people do as well, right? So if you're doing it, you're not alone, that's for sure.
Yeah. I have one totally unprepared question for you, but I'm sure you don't mind, Carl. If you, as an investor, look at startups, whatever, how would you prioritize having the right future fit tech, having the best business idea that the world's waiting for, or having a smart and agile team? How would you put 1, 2, 3? Tech, business, and team. I know you all want 5-legged sheep, but...
Yeah. I've said this before, and I have a technology background. So I was a software engineer for many, many years, and it pains me to say it, but nobody cares about your technology. Nobody cares.
Okay,
Sorry.
so that's 3.
So that's 3. But but you know, I mean, technology is important, but it's kind of an enabling thing. Yeah. It enables a business idea, but ultimately, investing is about people, really. Yeah. I mean, so I don't think that's controversial. It's team, business idea, technology in that order.
Okay.
I think.
So over to you, Stephen. How can people join if they hear this and they're begeistert and they want to join the movement?
Join the movement. That's good. Yeah. Pick up your flag and
Bonkers
run.
Are brilliant. Yeah.
I think there's two answers to this question. I mean, clearly, if you're a fascinating tech entrepreneur and you're building an idea and you're looking for a place to start and you can get a bespoke team around you, then of course there's another seat that we'll add for this talk next year.
How many on board so far?
We've got 10 businesses, which I think is 20 founders in those businesses.
Okay.
And,
more chairs.
And we'd be looking, a lot more chairs. Maybe we'll swap places. The audience will be
I think so.
And I think the most important side, I think, we need more Carls. We came to DIA looking for, passionate insurers who have really got the energy to innovate and realize that after this event, they go back to their desk and go, damn, I wish we could do this.
Yeah.
And I think we offer them a place that they can come and connect and instantly access these kind of businesses with other insurers who are willing to play and share, which is quite nice, a nice playground.
And I think that's a fair point, because it's very easy for people who want to, I get a bit tired when I hear the word disruptors, to sort of blame the insurance industry for being slow, because it's totally unfair, because it is an industry that exists and they have a lot of regulation and compliance, and it's not a lack of willingness, it is finding the how. So then this participative model can really, really help and work. So with that, what do you think, any of you jump in, what do you think will be the most, using the terrible word, disruptive trend for insurers? Like when we talk banking, we always say, WeChat, Tencent will come in, take the payments market. What will be the disruptive force that threatens insurers?
I'll have a crack at this. For me, I think we're starting to see the early stage of kind of mutual type-based insurance. I think it's not there yet, but we're starting to see examples where, people will kind of band together and be able to insure themselves or insure a group.
Yeah, self-insure. Yeah.
So it's kind of self-insurance, but it's kind of group insurance. Yeah. But in a
self-segment is probably the better word.
Yeah, but in an independent way, they don't need anybody else to manage that for them. It's self-managing and self-fulfilling in that person. So I think that whether that actually comes to pass in a big way, time will tell. But I start to see that happening now.
Anybody else wants to jump in?
I think it's just transparency. I think the data-driven transparency is fundamental to unpicking this kind of contrarian and also opposing position that often happens between the policyholder and the underwriter, and that is going to be fundamentally kind of unpick a lot of the value chain.
Yeah, for you.
I have a slightly less clever idea, but I think from my perspective of just the execution of innovation, I'm delighted that 3 years ago we were this was a talking shop, not this particularly, but Insurtech was an exercise of self-reflection. Yeah. And now we're seriously looking at good collaboration. Yeah, and I think this is going to be a lot of things going to start to happen now. Tech people are going to come into the market and shake it up. Yeah. And I think all of these things are true, and the rest of them we can't predict.
Yeah. Well, and you need collaborative models like this to attract the right talent as well. It's got to be a fun place to work. It's got to be more fun
who
than
wants to
Google.
climb over those hurdles?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, tough one. So let me start at the very end again. You took out 3 days out of a diary, and this is very expensive time when you're a startup. Who should come and say, "Hi, I want to talk to you"?
Yeah. So we'll say the same thing tomorrow. We're looking for talented individuals, creative insurers, and then collaborative capital providers who want to work with us to grow our business.
Perfect. And for you, David?
Yeah, I guess similar. I guess, we're looking for open-minded insurers and capital providers to have conversations about how to be in early on something that could be quite interesting for a growing market.
Yeah. So, Carl, you're loaded. Who are you looking for?
I'm personally not loaded, but I know a guy who is. So, a part of my job is to kind of be the, if Renry is like an oil tanker, I'm kind of the speedboat in the front, just kind of doing some advanced scouting. So I'm really interested to hear about new and emerging technologies and new and emerging business models. So I'm just here to talk to basically everybody.
Come and talk to Carl. And then finally, last word for you.
If possible, I'd like to meet more Carls. I don't know if we can genetically recreate you.
I'm not sure the world's ready for that.
But no, if you're an insurer and you're ready to act and you're looking for a model and you want to start tomorrow, then come and give us a call.
Okay, so any insurer with money and attitude, come and speak to this guy. And so with that, thank you very much. And I'd like to remind you that tomorrow, David from Digital Asset is on at 2:05 in the Grand Theatre, show and tell. And again, make sure you do go and see the show and tells because they are fantastic fun. We started it years ago. Our show and tells is just literally catching your breath and on to the next one. And then Peter is on in the morning at 11:55. So do come and see them all. And thank you very much for your attention and sticking with us till the last breath. Go and enjoy your evening and enjoy Amsterdam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.